Welcome back. Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Vish Kumaran and it's the Vish Kumaran show after a very, very long time. In this video, I guess I'm going to go over how I plan to stream this upcoming football season, a couple of the reasons why I haven't been streaming over the course of since essentially when the Super Bowl ended, as well as some upcoming thoughts on the 49ers season based on things I've been reading and observing during training camp time. So let's get into it. Why did I stop streaming after the 49ers lost the Super Bowl? If I'm being fully honest with you guys, the first thing is I took the Super Bowl as hard as everybody else. I'm a fan just like everyone else, and I'm a fan first. And I think sometimes when people do this content creation, they forget that we're also fans and we take the 49ers winning and losing just as hard as anyone else. I thought, as an adult, I've outgrown having 49ers losses affect my psyche this much, but unfortunately, this Super Bowl was difficult for me. I thought that this was the year the 49ers would finally break through, and it was hard to just come on stream and talk about it and constantly have to hammer home at things that kind of hurt me. And as you know, I like to be extremely prepared when doing these streams. And unfortunately, I couldn't watch 49ers football for quite a while. Usually immediately after the season ends, regardless of how it ends, my first thought is to immediately go back, watch a lot of the games, get a feel for how things happen, and try to analyze the games without having the emotion of fandom within me and consuming me as I'm watching it. And unfortunately, it took me a long time this year to be able to do that because, yeah, it was very difficult to watch the 49ers win the Super Bowl. So that was the first thing. The second thing is streaming tends to wear on me over the course of the year. Obviously, this isn't the first or second time I've taken a break. It's, the third or fourth time, I think. Um, I think a lot of people talk about, hey, I get this hate comment or this sort of negativity when it comes to streaming, but I would say that the entirety of it affects my psyche. I wouldn't say it's just the negativity. You get negativity, but that comes with it. I think there's also a lot of positivity associated with streaming that can be a little negative for your brain. Obviously, it's awesome to have so many people compliment you. And, the 49ers have this amazing community of supportive fans who have supported me throughout my journey streaming. But sometimes when that happens, I've noticed, yeah, like over the course of time, a few compliments can, force me to maybe lash out on Twitter or lash out on YouTube comments because all of a sudden I feel like nobody should be hating on an opinion I have. At the end of the day, it's football. Everybody is entitled to opinions on football, and we're all here because we're passionate about the 49ers and we're passionate about the sport. We need to debate that, and we love debating it. And I always enjoy those communal interactions, and sometimes I just need to step away to remind myself why I really enjoy doing this and why I enjoy interacting, or why I enjoy talking about the team. And it's because ever since day one, when I started doing this with Grant, you guys as a community have embraced me and have given me a place where I can talk about football and I can talk about something I'm passionate about. And I've always appreciated that, but I don't think I've ever necessarily shown my appreciation back for how much that means to me. And that's part of why I'm setting up this new style of streaming where I do these videos instead of doing these live streams, instead of going on with other people. I want to really control my content and see how far I can go as an individual creator. And try and give you guys what you're looking for, more daily updates, more thoughts on the daily news cycle, rather than getting on and doing these really long-winded shows with other amazing creators who are all fantastic. I would like to do something that's, more self beneficial and hopefully grow this thing in a way that I also don't get tired of it. And so that's a lot of my thought process over the last 4 or 5 months. I would say the main thing is that I took the loss probably harder than any adult should take a loss in the Super Bowl, but I'm back now. I'm back watching a lot of football. Obviously, I love it. I'm addicted to it, and I can't wait to watch this season with you guys. Before I get into some of my early thoughts on 49ers training camp, as well as the Trent Williams stuff, as well as my thoughts on camp reporting in general and why I've, I guess, stayed away from social media over this time, I want to share a great message from a new partner of the show that we have this year. Guys, this year the show is being sponsored by BetUS, and I'm really excited to share this platform with BetUS. BetUS offers the fastest payouts in the industry. They offer a 125% sign up bonus with up to $2,000 slash 200% crypto deposit bonus. They have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process. I know that that's important when we're talking about money. Um, Check out my BetUS link, guys, in the description below. You're talking about 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year with live wagering on all major games. Guys, this is the betting platform to be on this year. Check out my link in the description, and I will be going over some betting tips that I have for you guys this year. Now, I'm not the greatest or most professional gambler, but I always have a few thoughts that I think, man, if I put money on that, something would have come up with it. Gambling is not necessarily my style, but I hope to win you guys a lot of money on BetUS over the course of this year. So let's get back into this show and let's get back into, I guess, why I've been off of social media over the course of camp and camp reporting in general. For me, camp reporting has become a little bit frustrating to consume. I think that there are points where it's very good, and I think that everybody who does participate in it does do a good job, and they do a good job in terms of themselves. I think where it's gotten lost is I think that if you're a general fan and a consumer of the product, you really either have to decide that I want to consume the product from one lens through one or two creators, or you kind of just have to wash it all out because, in my opinion, camp reporting in general has turned into a little bit of a pissing contest between all the different reporters, creators, and people there. And I don't blame them. That's their job. That's what they have to do. But I think as a general fan, when you're trying to observe what's going on from afar, we're talking about a play that happens in, 20, 30 milliseconds. And people are trying to gather notes, watch 8 different things on a football play. Think about how fast a football play happens and how little you can actually consume watching a play live once. And all of a sudden, they're all offering differing opinions and they're arguing about it. It's a massive pissing contest between these people on what's going on in training camp. Because of that, I've stayed away from making general assumptions about the team based on camp reports. I think there are some people doing a fantastic job, and I would like to shout them out. Obviously, my two good friends, the coach and Jesse Naylor, I think they're doing a really, really good job. I would say one of the things I've noticed that's deferred in their camp reporting versus maybe others is they've stick to what's happened in practice rather than trying to tell you the why of this happened, so this means this. And I think when you start to get into that in training camp practice, especially football practice, you get into this dangerous idea of, wait, hey, this guy did this, so therefore he's bad, without understanding that there's, 8 different variables that could have affected what actually happened on a given football play. And so that's something I've really appreciated about both their camp reporting, and that's something I wanted to shout out. But for me, overall, this camp reporting in general, it's been very difficult to consume and talk about because I'm reliant on talking about what other people have to say about a practice that they're already delivering an opinion on. It becomes very, very sketchy and difficult. So that I would say has been a frustrating topic for me over the course of training camp, but it's also been a reason where I've stayed a little bit off of social media during this time and stayed away from offering my thoughts. So that brings me to the next part. What are my initial thoughts on the 49ers training camp and what are my thoughts? Let's start with Trent Williams. To me, Trent Williams is a guy that, one, I think part of this contract negotiation is I don't know that he really loves the grind of training camp anymore. When you're as good as Trent Williams is, but then you're also as naturally big and as gifted as Trent Williams is, and you're as athletically gifted as he is, and you're always in shape. And I don't say these things to say he doesn't work hard. There's an incredible work ethic that goes into Trent Williams' longevity and career, but he's also so physically gifted that I don't know that he gains so much from training camp practice. So I think part of this is just missing the grind, not having to do this for a 36-year-old body. The other part of it is I think Trent Williams is also looking for some motivation to get back into it. And I think guaranteed money does bring some sort of motivation for him to play. When you've accomplished everything there is to accomplish in the sport, and I think Trent Williams has done that, and I think coming to the 49ers, being on an organization that has notoriety, that's winning, getting him the all-pro teams that he deserves, and people starting to see the variety and the uniqueness of him as a left tackle, it's put him in the pantheon where people are going to talk about Anthony Munoz, Walter Jones, Orlando Pace, Trent Williams. I'm just naming Hall of Fame left tackles, but The point is, he's amongst the greatest left tackles in NFL history already, if not already, maybe the greatest or the best, the individually best left tackle we've seen. So I think part of this is just, hey, we need to incentivize him to play. He's looking to be incentivized to be played. He's looking to be incentivized to play. I don't think that there's an urgent timeline on Williams compared to Ayuk, for example. I think Williams will get done. I think Williams will just get done much closer to the season because I don't think the 49ers feel like they need Williams right now today on August 4th. I think by September, they'll feel like they need Trent Williams for sure. And I think that this deal will get done somewhere later in August, especially I think once the Brandon Ayuk stuff quiets down. So that's kind of my take on the Trent Williams situation. I'm not as alarmed as other people are. I think that this is a more normal situation. They took care of Christian McCaffrey. I think they'll take care of Trent Williams. I don't think that that's much of an issue. Um, in terms of my overall 49ers training camp thoughts, like how I look at this roster, I would say that some things that stand out to me. One is immediately I'm most interested in this linebacker battle next to Fred Warner. You have Dre Greenlaw, who's attempting to come back from injury. You have obviously the ongoing battle between these two young players who look like studs, and D Winters and Jalen Graham, excuse me. Which one of those guys is going to be there? And then Devondre Campbell's a wily vet who's played well in this scheme before in Atlanta. Obviously, injuries have hampered him a lot, but when he's healthy, he is a pretty good player. He's got great size, he's got good speed, and he's played football at a very, very high level fairly recently. You know, a couple years ago, this was a first team All Pro linebacker. It was very deserved. He was excellent for Green Bay. And so to me, that's a very interesting battle. Then I go back to the defense, and obviously the nickel spot is interesting with Renardo Green. I was very adamant at this point last year that I knew Isaiah Oliver would not be the starting nickel on this team. And that was just more so based on his skill set and how I felt he would fit in this defense. That was ultimately proven right. Similarly, I look at this defense this year, and I'm looking at the safety position, and I'm interested to see who are the two safeties that ultimately start. Right now, Brown and Mustafa, I think, are the guys that I look at. I know Odom is probably taking immediate reps, but I think Odom very much profiles as a special teams only player, whereas Mustafa and Brown are definitely athletic and physically talented enough to be starting safeties on a very good defense. When I look at Mustafa, Brown, and Hufanga, especially once Hufanga comes back from injury, I don't know that I see that big of a difference between Brown and Hufanga. To me, Brown and Hufanga are more the same rather than they're complementary. To me, Brown replaces Hufanga. And if I had to say who I think is better based on the little football I've been able to see Brown play and the little football I've been able to see Hufanga play, I would say Hufanga is better. So to me, one of the most interesting things about training camp is how that safety position gets sorted out. Will it be Brown and Mustafa? Will it be Hufanga and Mustafa? Will it be Brown and Hufanga? One of my early season predictions, I guess, coming into it is I think only one of Brown or Hufanga will end up starting for the 49ers by the end of the season. I think their skill sets are too similar. And if I had to pick one or the other based on what we've seen, and I know he's coming back from an injury, I would pick Talanoa Hufanga over Jair Brown. And it's kind of a weird thing for me to say because I prefer Jair Brown's skill set coming out of the draft than I did Talanoa Hufanga. But seeing them in the NFL so far, I liked Hufanga's rookie year better than I liked Brown's. And I like Hufanga in terms of, hey, generally what I've seen in the NFL versus a very limited capacity of seeing Brown. Now, Brown has gotten a lot of compliments this entire training camp, and we'll see. Maybe this is a completely wrong take, and Brown has improved tremendously. But when I look at Brown and Hufanga as a duo, I don't necessarily see their skill sets as complementary, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. Those would be my main thoughts looking at the 49ers defense. Those are the two positions I'm really concerned about. I think the rest of the defense is pretty standard. I think the defensive line rotation is not going to sort itself out in training camp. It's not going to sort itself out by week one. I think in season, the 49ers will realize which are the guys they can rely upon on first and second down in terms of the run defense, and which are the guys they can rely upon on third down. I'm more interested to see how the defense gets called because I think part of the Sorensen-Staley kind of combination is that Sorensen is going to be able to maintain their base defense on early downs. So like their first down, second down calls have been pretty much standard for the last 4 or 5 years, whether it's D'Amico, whether it's Saleh. They play very standard fronts. They play very standard coverages behind it. I think Sorensen's there to make sure they have that discipline and structure and organization. And then I think Staley's there to bring disguise on third down. And I wonder if there's going to be an alternation in terms of those two guys calling those parts of the defense where Staley makes the third down calls and Sorensen calls first and second down. It'll be an interesting thing to monitor, but that's kind of my take early on the 49ers defense. Now, in terms of the 49ers offense, obviously, I've done a video on Brandon Ayuk. That's going to be coming out as well. I've talked a little bit about the receiver situation, how I see Ayuk's skill set versus Pearsall versus Debo, how I see that coming together. I think besides that, I don't know that we're going to structurally see a lot of differences in the 49ers offense last year to this year. I think it's very close. They're bringing back a lot of the same players. I expect to see a better Brock Purdy this year for sure. And that's just because he's getting the full off season for a guy who's so reliant on the details of the offense, where he plays with such great structure and timing, where he knows, how to get his body positioned in a way that he can get a throw off despite, having a little bit of pressure coming. It's all of these subtle, mature things that make him a better player, and more reps and details only are going to enhance that. And so I expect a better version of Brock Purdy, which ultimately should enhance the 49ers offense totally. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be better without Brandon Ayuk, without Brandon Ayuk, excuse me, or if Brandon Ayuk leaves. But just a sneak peek to the Brandon Ayuk video, I guess I don't see Brandon Ayuk leaving. These are some of my early thoughts on the 49ers training camp. Please post your questions and comments down below on what you guys are seeing, what you guys are hearing. I'd love to hear and talk it through. We're going to have some shows or conversations this week. Hopefully, I'll get a live show somewhere in this week where we can maybe talk through some 49ers training camp topics. I do hope to bring streaming, like I said, to you guys more consistently, more in this solo video format. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Always appreciate your support. Looking forward to a great football season with you guys. And I can't wait to hopefully see the 49ers win the Super Bowl this year. Thanks, everybody. Like, subscribe. Don't forget about BetUS. Get ready for a great football season. See you next time.